So Darcy and I helped a whole ton of families buy homes here in and around Tucson, Arizona. And during that time, we saw a whole bunch of wild and crazy things happen in the real estate market. And the reason I'm making this video is because I want to kind of give you an idea, a little bit of insight as to what I think is going to happen in the rest of 2022. Is it going to be just as wild? Is it going to be just as crazy? Is it going to be wilder or crazier? I don't know. So that's kind of what we're going to get into. And I also am going to share with you some tips and tricks to help you navigate what we are expecting to see in 2022. So let's get after it right now. Hi there, this is Paul Dunn with eXp Realty right here in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm also a local mortgage broker with Nexa Mortgage here in Tucson. And if this is your first time on the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living, working, eating, chilling here in Tucson, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button, click that little bell so that you get notified every single time we drop a brand new video. Now, my wife Darcy and I get calls every single day from folks just like you who are thinking about moving or relocating here to Tucson, and we absolutely love it. So if you're in the process of thinking about that move or researching neighborhoods or anything, just go ahead and give us a call, shoot us a text message, send us an email, or use the link in the description to set up a Zoom call, and we'd be glad to help you out. We'd love to help you out, because if you're thinking about moving to Tucson here, we got your back. Now, since the spring of 2020, real estate across this country has been absolutely on fire. It's been insane. Now, Tucson has been a little bit crazier than most of the markets out there, and I'm going to share with you exactly why. It's been a seller's market like I've never seen since 1991. Now, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too soon, but I think we're going to see a lot more of the same here in 2022. Now, I'm not going to turn this into some boring economic presentation and all that, but it's important to know that there are some very important economic factors that are playing part in the market right now that will, over time, highly impact what's going on with our home prices. So if you're thinking about moving to Tucson in the next year or so, you're really going to want to take some of this stuff into consideration. Now, let's start with supply and demand. So let's start by taking a look at supply. Right now we have 0.8 months worth of supply on the MLS. And basically what that means is that if everything that was listed for sale right now was to sell, it would only take, you guessed it, 3.25 weeks for it all to sell. Okay, so we know we're in a heavy seller's market right now. Now, historically, if you're looking at a neutral, well-balanced market, that's going to be one that's got about 6 months worth of inventory sitting on the MLS, which basically means if nothing else came on the market, it would take 6 months to sell all those homes. We're nowhere close to that. Man, we're just over 3 weeks of inventory sitting over here. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. I mean, you typically don't see a whole bunch of new homes come on the MLS here in Tucson at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year. And I just don't see a ton of homes hitting the market during the summer either. And that's going to mean just one thing. It's going to stay a seller's market for quite a while, right? Which also leads us to one more thing. These crazy rising prices and massive appreciation are not going away anytime soon. Now, a lot of the local Tucsonans have really been thinking twice about selling too, because the main thought process is, if I sell, where am I going to go, right? However, we have seen quite a few people cash in on that equity and make that move. Now, in our local environment, the local real estate market down here in Tucson right now, we are relying an awful lot on builders. And the builders are doing the best they can. They're building as fast as they can. They're still dealing with the same issues that hit them about 18 months ago. And that would be supply chain issues. That would be rising costs and the inability to find really good quality labor. Now, speaking about the builders, what used to be an 8 or 9 month build is now taking at least 12 months. Most of the builders are 12 to 18 months. There are a few that are 24 months out. And that's not even really talking about the custom builders or even the semi-custom builders at all either. And now we have seen communities where dozens of homes tend to get stuck in that framing stage simply because they don't have the trades to move them along to that next step. In fact, we have one buyer who is stuck in framing since last June, and today is March 1st. And as the pricing of lumber continues to climb, I am expecting that we're going to be seeing more and more volatility on the pricing of these new builds too. Now, new construction is super important, and a little bit later in the video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to navigate the new construction scene here in Tucson. So I think a big reason we're seeing a lot of people flock here to Tucson is because of the growth of six-figure jobs here. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, Tucson six-figure jobs doesn't exactly sound right? But what this company Stessa.com did is they went to the Census Bureau and they took all the data from the major metropolitan areas and compiled a list of the fastest growing six-figure job areas. And guess what? Tucson came in number 8. We grew 156% in six-figure jobs. That put us right behind San Antonio, Texas, and just in front of Buffalo, New York. And just recently, the National Association of Realtors economists published an article that stated that Tucson was one of the top 10 hidden gems as far as housing markets go in the entire US. Now that is pretty cool, I think. So Tucson is definitely the most affordable big city in all of Arizona, especially if you compare us to like Phoenix or Mesa or Flagstaff or even Scottsdale, some of the other places up north. So if somebody is really looking for job opportunities, a lower cost of living, lower home prices, then it's easy to see how Tucson checks all those boxes. I think Tucson is a pretty cool place to be living right now. And if you take a look around and get to know the areas, you'll find that demand is off the charts and excitement here in Tucson is really, really high. And it's kind of getting to the point where people are starting to think, how long can this craziness go on, right? So if you ask me, the secret is out. People are moving here. In fact, we're even seeing multiple generations of people moving here. The kids are moving, and so guess what? The parents tend to follow them sometimes. And I think that's kind of cool too. Now, the only thing that I think that might put a shift in the market is it's exactly what we're going to talk about next, and it would be interest rates. So check this out. Even if you're a cash buyer, you're going to come in and just drop a bucket load of cash to buy your next home. Interest rates and what's going to happen to interest rates could have a major impact on the way that you're going to be searching, especially if you have a home that you need to sell before you can buy. And I'm sure that you know that interest rates have been at historic lows for several years now, but there's a lot of chatter that interest rates are going to start to climb in 2022. Now, do I think that we're going to see interest rates going up this year? The short answer is yeah. But the real question is, are they going to go up enough to affect demand? Now, I kind of think that interest rates would have to get into the high 4s, maybe even the 5s to really have an impact on demand. But here's an interesting thought too. If people even think that interest rates are going to go up that high, they're going to start moving and jumping into the housing market. And we're going to see even more demand with less supply. And we all knew that the interest rates staying in the low 3s, it wasn't going to happen forever, right? So we knew they were eventually going to go up. But buying a home is still a better deal than renting. And if you think that home prices have been going nuts, try looking for rentals here in Tucson. Those prices are out of sight, which makes me think that if you're in the market to buy rental properties and rent it to all those folks that are looking for rentals, then this could be the opportune moment to jump in, especially with some of the new loans out there that allow you to buy a home based on the cash flow of the property. We'll talk about that in a different video. So when Darcy and I bought our first home back in the 90s, we were super excited. We were stoked about our 5.125 interest rate. Imagine that now. But guess what? That was even an ARM and we were still excited about it. But don't even get me started on what my parents were paying for interest rates back when they bought their first home. Man, we're talking high double digits. So the last thing on interest rates, when they do go up, and I do expect them to go up, I think we all expect them to go up, I believe that demand is going to go up too. And so are prices. Prices are going to continue to climb. Let me explain. So people are moving to Tucson at a pace like we've never, ever seen before. And they're coming from high cost places like Oregon, Washington, Colorado, California is a big one for us, Illinois, and even, believe it or not, Florida. We're seeing a lot of folks relocating here from Florida. And they're leaving these areas where homes cost maybe 2 or even 3 times what they're going to get down here in Tucson. So here's something else to think about. A 4 or 5% interest rate is just going to hit a lot differently on that $400,000 home that you can get here in Tucson as opposed to one of those really expensive homes that you're going to find in one of the coastal states or one of the other highly expensive states. So assuming rates do go up, and they will, I think that's going to make Tucson more appealing than those other high-cost areas for people to buy a home. I mean, think about it. If you could get the same exact home for 2 or 3 times less money, who would want to do that, right? Now, I know all of you out there that are thinking about buying here in Tucson or thinking about moving to Tucson are thinking like, why would I want to be a buyer in this market? Sounds like the market's absolutely nuts. And that it is. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, it is hard for buyers right now. But Darcy and I have helped a ton of families move into Tucson over the last year, and we feel like we've cracked the code. In fact, I've got a couple tips for you right now. So tip number 1, get ready. Now, you're going to want to get all your ducks in a row so that when you do step out in the home buying field, you are ready to go, right? And so the first thing that you're going to want to do is get all your documents, all your financial documents over to your lender, because you are going to want your lender to issue you a pre-approval, not a pre-qualification, a pre-approval. There's a big difference there, and your lender can explain that to you. Now, make sure that your lender is also available. And by that, what I mean is your lender is going to need to be able to call up the listing agent, yes, the listing agent, and tell that listing agent what a great borrower you are, how financially strong you are, and how confident they are that you will close this transaction. And on top of that, your real estate agent needs to be a full-time agent, somebody who's been successful in helping people negotiate and close transactions in this market. If you're talking to an agent who is relatively new, maybe working part-time, or has not helped a lot of folks close transactions in this market, then you're probably talking to the wrong person. So one of the first things you're going to want to do when you identify your lender and you identify who your realtor is going to be is you're going to want to get them together and formulate a game plan. So I can pretty much guarantee that when you hit the streets running and you start shopping for homes and find that property that you absolutely love and want to put that offer in on, that you will be competing against other buyers, right? And so what we've found in this market is it is the best realtor lender team that wins those transactions. So get your team together. Now, tip number 2, you might want to take a look at new construction. I mean, inventory, incentives, and pricing are changing here almost on a daily basis in Tucson. Now, the advantage of the new construction is you're going to secure your property and you get to lock in your pricing, which is really cool. And now I know it sounds crazy, but actually securing the property, now that's half the battle right now. Now with new construction, you might not get to move in on time and you might not get to pick out your finishes, but at least you'll have a home, right? Now a lot's changed with the builders out here. Many have eliminated the design centers and are really kind of moving just towards being spec homes. So what they're doing is they're choosing which homes go on which lots. They're also choosing which homes get what finish, and they're actually even building entire neighborhoods with pre-designed inventory so that the homes will sell faster and easier. And because they're doing this, it really helps them streamline their processes, tighten their timelines, and really help control their pricings in the different neighborhoods. Now, I know that there's a lot of you out there that really want to pick out the finishes. You want this granite, you want that granite, you want those cabinets, this color paint. But really, the builders, they just don't care, because in this crazy market, some builders are actually limited to only being able to write 2 contracts a week. And so because the market is so seller driven and there's just a ton of demand, they just don't care. They know they're going to end up selling that home to somebody. And really, the builders are still trying to overcome issues with supply chain and labor shortages too. And so the building timelines are getting pushed back longer and longer. There are some builders out here that used to be the 6 to 8 month that are now 12 to 18 months. And I even heard the other day of one of the higher end builders being out 24 months. That's a long time. But the advantage to you is, number 1, again, it secures the property. And number 2, it locks in your pricing. What that does for you is if prices do go up during the time that your building is going on, most of our buyers, they just don't care. They don't worry about it. But the other thing that we've seen too is that because of incremental price increases in the neighborhoods, they end up moving in with tens of thousands of dollars of equity. Okay, to wrap up the part about new construction, just don't try to do it without a realtor, right? It doesn't cost you anything to have a realtor. And what's even more important than that is you're not saving any money by going into a contract with a builder and not having any representation of your own. Right now, the market is crazy and it is tough to be a buyer. I get that. But it's not like existing homes where you can simply go onto the MLS and take a look and see everything that's actually in there right now, right? Plus, there are some amazing homes out there with amazing incentives. And many of these incentives you will never know about if you're not working with a realtor who has deep ties to the builder community. And here is tip number 3. And that is get creative with your offer. Now, there's a whole lot of things that you can do to really make your offer more appealing than the other guy's offer. And, I really can't get into sharing all my secrets here on this video, But there's a few things that I want to share that I know can help you. So one of the things that's led to the most successes for us and made some of the biggest differences over this last year has been the initial phone call. Now, what happens is our lender partner will call the listing agent, and we will call the listing agent as well. And really what we're trying to do is build a rapport with that listing agent and find out what it's going to take to get your offer to the closing table. Because what happens a lot of times right now is you may be up against other well-qualified buyers. You may be up against buyers who are paying cash, 100% cash. You may be up against people who are offering way over listing price, even waiving the appraisal and possibly waiving any kind of repairs. And so what's really important is that we build that rapport with that listing agent so that the listing agent and the seller are confident that your offer is the one that will make it to the closing table. So the bottom line is we really want to find out what's important to the seller. And even more importantly than that, we want to know what kind of an offer is most important to the listing agent so that they are most comfortable presenting our offer to their seller. And when they pick up the phone, you would be surprised at some of the things they're willing to share with us. Sometimes it's just about removing or changing or shortening certain contingencies. And sometimes the seller just wants to stay in the home a certain amount of time after the closing. And you like this one. Sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with money. So the goal here is to create a win-win situation for everybody so that everybody gets what they want. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've been so successful in getting our offers accepted in this crazy market. So tip number 4 is just don't give up. Man, I know it's tough out there, especially for my first-time home buyers. Man, they're coming in at entry-level prices where there's tons of competition, a lot of multiple bids, and there's a lot of investors coming in to snatch up those properties. But with rental rates on the rise, and man, they're climbing here in Tucson, and interest rates going up too, it still makes a lot of sense to go out and become a homeowner. Now, historically over the years, real estate has been proven to be one of the best investments that people can make in their lifetime. I expect that as interest rates continue to climb, unfortunately, it will knock some folks out of the market. And I know that's not fair. But what really makes me sad is thinking about those people who could have bought last year, but they didn't. Maybe they got nervous thinking about jumping into the market. Maybe they got frustrated about being in the market looking for a home and jumped out and then went and rented. And unfortunately for them, what they can find now for that same price is just not even close to what they could have gotten a year ago. So there's a big issue with waiting. So in this market, waiting is going to cost you not only time, but it will cost you money as well. I believe that if buying a home in Tucson, Arizona, or the surrounding areas is a priority for you in 2022, then there is a way to make that happen. Now, I don't believe that home prices are going to continue to skyrocket up for forever and ever because, well, quite frankly, that is just not sustainable. There will be a point in time where things will start to stabilize, and who knows, we may even see a dip. But with our supply issues right now and really only about 3.25 weeks of inventory, you're not going to see home prices stabilize for a while. However, in the event something does change, believe me, you will see a video about it right here on this channel. And as long as you're subscribed, you'll get the notification. So if you're thinking about moving to Tucson, it's a great idea to have somebody boots on the ground. And we'd love to be your boots on the ground here. So Darcy and I get calls every single day from people just like you who are planning a move here to Tucson. And we absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about buying or selling here in Tucson, just reach out to us. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. You could even schedule a Zoom meeting down below in the description here on the page. Either way you reach out to us, we'd love to be your boots on the ground, and we've got your back when thinking about Tucson.